So I want to move on to another topic, and this is the impact on U.S. housing from Brexit and the UK's decision to leave the EU. And Arnie, we were at the Housing and Education Alliance yesterday, and I talked about this briefly there. We read a first-time home ownership awareness course that was put on, which was a great event. And it sounds as though basically, I mean, there's a pretty, I think everyone's saying that interest rates are going to slightly drop a little bit from this, impact on the stock market. Obviously, interest rates are always volatile, but there really hasn't been a better time to lock a rate, and this is one of those things that's going to work out in first-time home buyers and people that are really rate conscious' advantage.
Yeah, I think that, anytime there's bad news in the economy, there's great news for rates. And so the rates are definitely dropped a little bit on Friday. So if you're thinking about going out and buy a place, this is a great time to consider it, or if you're looking to refinance, it's a great time because I don't know if Friday was a blip. Normally it is because they were over a little bit of overreaction, I think. Mm-hmm. So I think some of the gains we saw Friday we're gonna lose. But between the dismal unemployment numbers that came out at the beginning of the month, and this thing with Brexit and all this kind of stuff, and the economy kind of moving slowly, all the talk that was happening at the beginning of the year about possible rates going up, I think that's all gone out the window.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
And so that's one impact of one thing that's impacting, obviously, again, is a benefit for our home buyers is the interest rates, and the positive impact on lowering interest rates from that decision, and who knows how long that lasts. But the negative side of it, or the possible ramification that some of the articles talk about that I believe too, Florida is one of those markets where we're really an international real estate market. What happens in Florida isn't just relegated to what's going on in the local economy. Stuff that happens outside of our country impacts our local real estate market. So if the UK leaves the EU and other places leave the EU, their currency's devalued, it gets more expensive to buy a property here. It could have a negative impact, more specifically in luxury and vacation home sales. You get out to the beach, you get above $1 million, because in that market you have a lot of international sales, a lot of sales from Europe. And if we lose that segment of the audience, even just a small segment of the audience that you lose in the high end, there's already not. It's not like we have thousands and thousands of $1 million sales every month. It's not a huge market to begin with. So if you pull away buyers from that, it has a supply and demand curve. It has a negative pressure on price drops, and we're already seeing that. I've already talked about that on the show, where we're already starting to see softening in our luxury real estate markets in certain parts of town. Where
you think that's a long-term thing, or you think that's a short?
It's really hard to say. I think that
so that's one thing I want to talk about real
yeah.
quick. So why is it that the what range, like 250 and below, is hot as the crystal, right?
Right.
Yet where's that cut? Like 500 and above.
Yeah.
500, 600 above is slower, and now you're saying it's softer. So how?
So here's the thing. I think again, you look at some of the economic things that have happened in other countries. The exchange rate in Canada, for example, where a lot of our higher end buyers come from. When you have something like Brexit that may lose us some UK buyers and some EU buyers, if other countries follow suit and leave the EU as well, and then we lose more segments of those buyers, it's a supply and demand issue. So when you climb the price charts, there's a higher percentage of those sales that happen from outside the country, and when the economies of those countries aren't doing as well and you lose buyers for those homes, the homes in that market sit longer, take longer to sell, and sell for lower prices. So that's one factor that I think has an impact on it, and there's no question that this could lead to a domino effect. No one else may follow, it may do very little harm, but it could lead to that. And as far as the price points, it really varies from neighborhood to neighborhood. If you were looking in South Tampa, where it's a higher priced home market, the ceiling where kind of it's determined that it's a luxury market where it starts to get oversaturated is going to be different than Valrico, for example. But if you look across the market as a whole to understand why the luxury real estate market is not as healthy, again, it goes back to luxury real estate, a lot of times, second homes, third homes, those are luxury items. And when there's any kind of concern or fear or emotion, a lot of people don't make the decision to purchase those homes. And it trickles down. It's like a domino effect. It can trickle down into other price points. But you've got a presidential election, so people are a little bit afraid. You've seen a big ramp up in price. And then you've got economic issues in countries that drive sales to Florida. If you were to talk about the luxury real estate market in Detroit, it's not going to be the same analysis, because I would suspect that Detroit doesn't have the sunshine rainbows that Florida has, that brings Canadians and Europeans and Asia to our country. So a lot of it is stuff outside our country.
Do you think financing has anything to do with it? Because of
Financing's, I think, got better, hasn't it? I mean,
yeah.
So I don't know that it has. I think it's more of a emotion, fear-based thing. We always have some real estate challenges in election year, because real estate, even for people that have that kind of money, the millions of dollars to buy $1 million homes, it's still a really emotional thing. And any kind of turmoil you had the issue in Orlando. We've got the presidential election. Any kind of polarizing news, believe it or not, causes people to kind of step back and be a little concerned. So
What percentage of people in that luxury market do financing? I always thought that it was a low percentage.
it's not obviously not as high a percentage as it is when you're talking about $200,000 and $300,000 sales. It's a lot of cash. It is a lot of cash sales, but there's still some to finance. I mean, we have professional athletes who work with the finance. There's celebrities that finance. I mean, it's really a personal decision where they look at it and decide kind of which path that they're.
I have a theory, and there's no article on it this week or anything like that, but just in the market. I mean, I actually, after our homebuyer seminar, I actually set an open house on Saturday, and I had as a higher end open house, and the guy comes in. He's got, $500,000 and he wants to buy a higher end thing, and then all of a sudden, you start talking, he says, well, I've already been pre-approved, and then he starts talking, well, he has a foreclosure, he has a bankruptcy, and, a lot of places, in the higher end financing, they're a lot more strict about foreclosures and bankruptcies than they are on the lower end. They're a little bit more lenient, believe it or not, on the lower end, but just a tidbit out there. At Waterstone, we can get away with a higher. Well, in jumbo, you don't. We have portfolio money. You only need 3 years outside of bankruptcy and 4 years outside of a foreclosure. Where just about every other jumbo financing, you need 7 years on a foreclosure. So I don't know if that's part of it or not, but
there's some of it out there. But I think again, a lot of it. There's just so many variables that come into play, and obviously the decision with the UK and the EU could lead to an impact. Right now, is it going to have an immediate impact? Besides the whole emotional aspect of it, it doesn't have an immediate economic impact besides interest rates. The other things are probably more emotional.